Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to review Season 1, Episode 7 of Stanley's Lucky Man. So, really within this episode, it seems like really each episode is to really get you just kind of really just excited about what is to go on via these episodes. It seems like the last one was fairly interesting to me. Like in this one, they're trying to really right out of the gate give you something that you're going to just go, what the heck is going on with this show? What is going on here? I need to know more. What is going on? So really with this episode, we are to still have every single thing tied to Golding. Every single time somebody is to mutter who had done something, it usually is to go with Golding. So in this episode, to just kind of tee it up for people, so immediately we are to see a man who is just running like mad all about town. And so fortunately, Harry and Surrey are going to get on the case of why this guy is crazily running around, and eventually it is to lead to Golding. So eventually they are going to have to go and figure out how this guy had gotten to where he now is, and then also have also like them having to follow the bouncing ball through this entire episode and see how every single thing is connected. And it seems that Harry, especially in this episode, is getting even much more closer to Golding and figuring out who exactly this is. But also it seems that Anne is going to try to give Harry some information about Kevin Gray's suicide in prison, that it seems that the busboy that she was to talk to was to mention something about Golding, and so now Anna is eventually going to confront Harry about this. Also, we finally have Orwell in this episode, the detective guy that in the early pilot episode, like, Harry was kind of giving to Orwell and vice versa. So it seems like it's been a while since we've seen Orwell, and I'm kind of just happy to have him here. Because I'm like, man, like, I haven't seen him in so long, it seems like. So, but yes. So I think it's about time to go into this episode. Really, it seems like Harry is in a lot of danger in this episode, and really he is much more relying on the bracelet via this episode to get him by a lot. And so it really makes for a very interesting episode how they're going to try to curve this whole luck thing into legitimately Harry's favor. So it's kind of an interesting episode because it has like a lot of risk to it. The Harry is to basically be dodging bullets in this episode. So with that said, I think it's about that time to go into spoilers of this show, because really I like this episode very much. So like there's kind of different reasons why I like this episode compared to the last. Like the last episode kind of has like a supernatural-ish like flavor to it, but it also has like a very interesting story that kind of gets to like some kind of like ooh, like the way they kind of like have that episode kind of climb was kind of interesting, where in this episode they just do some kind of like cool stunts, and they just do some kind of like cool things with a there's a lot of like odd barrage of things all going on in this episode that are just kind of connected to make a very interesting episode. That's what I could really go into and say about this episode. So like I said, it's about that coveted time. I'm going to skip the whole 5-minute marker thing just to get this all out, because there's probably a lot to unpack via this episode. It seems like there's a lot of names being thrown around in this episode, and so we are going to go and try to connect the dots here with that double five-timed territory to go into spoiler time. It's about that time I'm going to spoil this episode. More than likely, I'm kind of a little bit of a sheet to the wind kind of thing, if you know what I mean. Like really, not mean that I was chugging them back or anything like. No, like it's kind of the point where like my eyes are just like blurry, just because it like my body is telling me you should probably just go ahead and just take some sleep. You know what I'm saying? But I wanted to at least get this done and maybe one other review and then call it a night because I was like, oh, maybe I could get just a ton of stuff done. And then I realized I'm like, just call it a day and then try to bust it out early tomorrow. So let's go into this episode. Let's go into spoiler time. So in the very beginning of this, we have a man who is running like a chicken with his head cut off and running through parts of this town asking for people for their phone, and they aren't going to give it up to this crazy man. So we have this guy running around with just his boxers on and like asking for anyone to help him. So we have the police who are to arrive to taser this man, and as they are to taser this man, he is to all of a sudden to light on fire. And so they need to kind of quickly like put him out. And so we have this man who is in this hospital, and Harry and Surrey are on the case. So they go in, and they are to notice that this guy was heavily burnt because it seems that somebody had put, I think, kerosene on this guy, and the taser had lit like the kerosene on this guy to light him on fire, and so he had to like stop, drop, and roll, and like they had to try to take him out. So, or take him out meaning like kind of get him out of this fire situation that he was in. So Harry is to also notice that it seemed like they had to remove like plate glass uh, from this gentleman, and so more than likely this guy had to be chucked through a window. So more than likely they have to figure out and put the pieces together if anybody complained about a busted window anywhere. So it seems like this guy is coming to, and so Harry is to go and ask said guy like who had done this to you, and this guy is to mutter the word Golding, and that's all he's to say. So Harry is like, well, okay, we have to like try to figure out anywhere in the world of anybody who is to file a report about a busted window because maybe we can make the connection there. And of course they do. So Harry is to go to some spot uh, that is being held by some security guard who is Zach McGinnis. So it seems that Zach McGinnis was a guy who used to have a police record, and it seems that now he is a security guard. And I'm like, this seems kind of fishy. Like, it seemed like before Anna was hearing Golding from Governor Julian's uh, restaurant spot. Now all of a sudden, this security guard is a prior prisoner that now is rehabilitating by having this security job. Something is fishy about this, and like there's something like that I think is kind of connecting these pieces. But I won't, like, we'll eventually have to go into how. But I don't know. We'll have to figure out who the heck Golding is. Maybe it's Winter. Like, maybe, like, or maybe it's Fearsome. Fearsome seems to be owning all kinds of businesses. So, like, it might quite possibly be that Fearsome is Golding. Sure, if that's what you want to believe. And so, and so, Zach McGinnis is to is to kind of take Harry and Surrey like on this walk while he's with his trained dog, and it seems that his trained dog could like smell rats, and so Harry is to see these flight of stairs, and so Harry's to ask Zach, well, hey, like, has anybody gone up these flights of stairs? And Zach is like, I don't believe so. And Harry's like, well, someone is now. So Harry is to go up these flight of stairs to also eventually see a window that had not been broken in, had been broken out of. So Harry is to go up this flight of stairs to see a pair of pants that has been torn and ripped up, to eventually see a credit card that is to be owned by not a man, but by a woman, called Indira Kamel. Um, she is to be the owner of this credit card, and so it seems that we see this guy who they are calling Anton, the guy who was at the hospital that had gotten burnt. Evidently, his name was Anton, so that's what they're naturally assuming his name is. So they have a camera footage of Anton going and putting this credit card into this ATM to all of a sudden be nabbed by a couple men and have a bag tossed over his head, and then he is dragged to this van. And so both Harry and Surrey make their way to find Indira, who I guess she is a student of sorts. I guess like maybe like I think they kind of mention that like some of these women here might uh, like not all be from this country, and so maybe they like get a student visa or something so that way they can stay in the country, and then they might also have other jobs besides that, let's just say, to afford staying in school, maybe being a lady of the night to anyone. So Harry and Sue, or Harry and Surrey, are to go to find out information about Indira, and it seems that uh, the only real information that they come upon is that Anton's name actually isn't Anton, it's Tony. So now it's a completely different name. So, uh, but anything else, like they kind of start asking Indira questions about things, and there isn't really any concrete answer from Indira because it seems like they start to mention that this was a guy that would do like some studies here and there, but like they don't come with any real true answers or whatever. So like let's skip to that or skip through that. So in the next scene, we are to see Winter and Fearsome talking to one another. Where like Fearsome is basically saying like, you know what, Winters, like if you can't handle this job, like dude, like I can buy and sell basically anybody at this point, and maybe like maybe you need to just start looking into like some other kind of form of employment fairly soon. Um, but also there's this really cool moment where later on, like really just like I think Winters is like trying to sniff off of something evil from Fearsome. So Winters is eventually asking at some point in this episode Surrey, like, hey, like, why is Harry so adamant about Fearsome? And Surrey mentions it's like, well, uh, he had spoken to the detective from the last episode, the James Stepton or James something. Uh, check the last episode. So the detective that's retired. So So Winter is to go to meet James and kind of ask James what exactly that James had told Harry. And so uh, James is to mention to Winter that, like, yeah, like, I'm just going to let you know now that the Maria case actually could have been solved, but Fearsome tried everything that he can possibly do to not get it solved, to leave it as a cold case. And so Winter is like, like, that's intriguing. Why did he try so hard to make this a cold case when there could quite possibly be things to be solved? This seems weird. So, uh, so if anything, Harry and Surrey are to go on and go into and find Tony's place. Because they go into computer and try to search any kind of Tony that they can find to eventually match Tony to the guy that is to be Tony, and so they match him up to that and whatever. So uh, they find Tony's place, and they find that he has like a bunch of jewelry. It seems like he has a watch that is a lead to have him see. Let's go back a little. So Harry and Surrey are to go to Tony's apartment, and that is to lead them to a watch that says to Surrey from Golding, or to Sasha from Harry, Surrey, building, watch, to Sasha from Golding. So, Harry is to see that, and he's like, who's this Sasha girl, and why is Golding giving her a watch? I need to figure out who this is. So, it seems that also that Harry and Surrey are starting to put things together, because it seems that there had been a person that was to tape a lot of the people that had been living in the building that Indira was in, I guess, as blackmail. And so it seems that this guy Jed was tied to this case, and so now they have to kind of figure out who that exactly is. So eventually they are to go and see the footage that is to showcase a lot of women that are seducing men, and they end up trying to find Sasha within that, and they find out uh, that she had lived in that apartment complex, so that is to easily help them figure out where Sasha actually is via her previous address to where she is now. So Harry and Surrey go off to meet Sasha at this yacht. So, uh, so now Harry and Sasha are having this conversation, and it seems like it's going nowhere. Sasha has a security guard with her, and it seems that Sasha is kind of telling Harry nothing that he can like make a lead off of or kind of pivot off of. But uh, and then eventually, kind of Sasha just wants to just kind of lawyer up, and so Harry is just kind of like, oh crap, like well, like because it seems that Sasha is very like law conscious, and so really like when Sasha is to start talking to Harry about things, like she tries to like pivot some conversation or whatever because she knows good and well that uh really some of the stuff like she can't exactly say, or when Harry is to ask Sasha about Golding. Sasha is to just kind of play it off as if she doesn't know who that is. So, like, this whole thing leads Harry nowhere, but Harry leaves his card to Sasha to just say, well, if you ever have a eureka kind of moment, give me a call. So Sasha's bodyguard is wanting to just really kill off Harry because immediately it's like, dude, this guy is coming up with something, and Sasha might be on the bad end of this, so I should go and kill Harry off. So Sasha's security guard is to go and try to kill off Harry by blowing up one of Harry's tires. So Harry and Surrey are spinning with their car through this street, and Harry takes his hands off the wheel, and when Surrey is to try to put her hands on the wheel, Harry is to take Surrey's hands off and just let the car spin, and it spins into a perfect stopping motion to where it hits absolutely nothing, and they don't flip or crash or anything. And so Surrey is upset with Harry because it's like, oh my god, you just let the car just like spin around and you didn't touch it and you just relied on pure luck for us to have survived that accident. And Harry's like, well, yeah, but it worked, didn't it? But Surrey's just like, yeah, I can't trust a man that is just depending on luck to get him through a day-to-day basis. So, uh, so we have eventually Anna, who is going and talking to uh, is going to talk to Harry about uh, the whole Kevin Gray suicide situation, and that Anna had been told by uh, Julian's restaurant busboy that it seems that Kevin Gray had died because of a man named Golding. And so Anna is telling Harry about this, and Harry is kind of getting a little cautious about Anna now, and Anna's like, well, dude, you told me to just like start sniffing around, and so I did. And Harry's like, well, yeah, but like it seems like this is getting a little bit more dangerous, and plus also it seems like you're spending a lot of time with Julian. And Anna's like, are you just saying this because of Daisy? And Harry's like, no, I'm just trying to protect you. And like and Anna kind of throws jealousy into Harry's face. To like, dude, you're just jealous. You're just jealous of what's going on. And Harry's like, no, I'm not that at all. Like, I could give a rip about what you do with your life. But you know what? Like, I'm just trying to, like, protect you. Like, I don't know. It seems that there's something fishy about all this. And, like, it's going to come to a head eventually and blow up in your face, Anna. It's probably going to happen that way. Just letting you know. It'll probably blow up in your face. But you just do whatever you want. Uh, so eventually we see here Anna is spending more time with Julian. It seems that they are, I think, to go to a zoo together, and Julian is trying to win over Daisy by giving her some pretzels, and Daisy eats them. And then Julian goes and gives Anna some pretzels and wins her over. So uh, like it seems like Julian is trying to work on like working with Daisy to just be like, dude, I'm not going to replace your father. I'm just here. Like I'm not trying to do like whittle my way in. I'm just like trying to be here right now. So next up we are to see Eve talk to Paul. Paul, of course, is Lemon Toff's uh, Lemon Toff's son, the guy that had to wear like sunglasses because he was sensitive to light. Uh, And so really, like, Eve is kind of really asking Paul, like, who the heck is Golding? And Paul is like, well, like, do you think it's me? And Eve is like, no, we've known one another for like a whole lifetime, and I could not see you being Golding. And so, like, Eve is trying to get answers out of Paul, and Paul just does not have them. So, like, Eve is trying to ask questions that Paul doesn't have the answers to, so that kind of feels like a moot point. So, Fearsome is to eventually pull aside Orwell, who we haven't seen in seemingly forever now. So, Fearsome is to kind of mention that Fearsome is yet another person that seems to want Harry to go away. And Orwell is like, dude, I've been doing that for a number of episodes. You just came in here and you just think that you're just gonna just be new guy and you're just gonna like try everything and it's all gonna work out. No, like, I've been doing this for 7 episodes now and it's not been working. And so what do you think that you're gonna bring into the table? And Fearsome is like, well, since I'm newcomer to all this, but I have a lot of money, well, like, you know what? Maybe Winter is going to get bumped off. It seems like he's just not quite working out in this job, but maybe Orwell, maybe there's a promotion in your favor if you do this, if you get rid of Harry somehow. So, uh, so yeah, like, there's a conversation going there. Uh, so this all leads to eventually having Harry and Surrey, who are to eventually come up with the conclusion that they need to go back to speak with Indira, and that Indira probably has uh, the lover of which that she is to have actually be Jed, that is in disguise. So Harry and Surrey are to go to Indira and to try to call her boyfriend out that he's actually Jed. So it seems like Jed and Indira are just kind of like desperate to like get money together to try to escape together. It seems that Jed is consistently having Indira like uh, find money from her family or friends or somewhere, because it seems like Jed is running out of money. So Harry and Surrey are to make their way to Indira, and we just have just Indira and Jed just running off. Punching Jed is to punch Surrey in the face. She's to go down, sadly. And then both Jed and Indira are to run off, and then Harry is to catch up with them, and Jed is to grab Indira and have a box cutter knife to her throat. So Surrey is to come back to try and help Harry, but Surrey is to fall over because she had gotten hit so hard. Harry is to try and protect Surrey, but that is to lead both Indira and Jed to run off. So once Surrey is to come to, Harry is to take Surrey uh, to her place and just be like, Surrey, you need some rest. You got hit really hard. So if anything, like, you should probably go to the doctor to see if you have a concussion or something. But Surrey is like, no, I'm fine. I just need to rest. So they go and they do that. So Jed is to desperately try to figure out how he can basically like leave the country. So Jed is calling Camille and is basically saying like, price is no option. I want to get like two tickets to paradise or 2 tickets out of here. And Camille is like, oh well, then I'm going to ask for an ungodly price then. And Jed is like, well, wow, man, that sounds a little expensive. And Camille is just like, well, you said like money is no object. So So Jed is to agree with the price of Camille, but Camille is kind of pulling double agent on here, and so Camille is to also be on the phone with Tasha's security guard and is to mention what all had happened with Jed, like the agreement that they had made. And so uh, and so this security guard is talking to Camille, and it's like, well, yeah, like if anything, like sadly enough, like this guy Jed is going to end up dead. So really, like I'm gonna have to figure out a way to orchestrate all that. Uh, so really, go ahead and have this guy meet me at this boat, and we'll orchestrate this supposed deal, which is basically just gonna end up with Jed either killed or any number of people killed within this scenario. So, uh, so now we have Jed, who is to be at this yacht to supposedly have this trade off with Camille, but that's not actually what's going to happen. So Tasha's security guard is to call Jed and tell him that there is a gun on the yacht and for Jed to grab it because eventually Harry is going to make his way here and Harry needs to end up dead. So Harry is to make his way back to this yacht because Sasha had called Harry to mention that she has some information for him. And so Harry's like, oh, okay, great. So he makes his way back to the yacht to find both Indira and Jed there. So Jed is pulling a gun on Harry, and so Harry is to mention to Jed, it's like, well, you know what? Firing a gun isn't as easy as it makes it look in the movies. So, if anything, you can go and try to shoot me if you like, but it's really very difficult. So, Jed starts pulling the trigger of this gun, and of course, he is to repetitiously keep hitting the sign behind Harry. Harry is to just kind of like go and just be like, kind of, whoa, about all these bullets. But then eventually he is to look back and just be more and more confident and to tell Jed like again, like go for it, like try to hit me. And so Jed keeps firing bullets, and eventually Harry knows exactly how many bullets are left in the chamber. And so he's like, one last shot. And so Jed goes and fires this last bullet to to eventually get Bubkiss nowhere. So Jed's last desperate act is to go and toss Indira over the side for Harry to now have to dive into the water after her. And so Jed is to run off to eventually get captured by both Sasha and her security guard to just say, yeah, like this guy is definitely going to get dead because Sasha is to prop up the box cutter, just like, dude, you're going to die horribly. So Harry is to grab Indira and basically, like, at least, Jed did get technically away with this, but at least Indira is no longer a problem, and I think that does cover most of the episode. Uh, but also, it just kind of doesn't exactly like, like it just kind of leaves it with a just like, well, like Harry didn't exactly get his man, but like at least it still leads to what is to go on next for the episode. So like I think I did kind of cover everything here. If there was something that I probably missed, maybe there might be a rebuttal for next time that I review this. I'm gonna try to keep these like consistent because I haven't before. Like a lot of times it would just be a random, like, you know what, I'm feeling like doing this episode. But I at least want to try to cover the full first season, and then see how this continues to burn or churn or whatever. And then after that, we'll just kind of continue to go along with this, because it seems that people, um, like, thank God for patience for a lot of people, because really, like, for me, like, I just put this out there and then hope for the best, because really it's just like, do people still like this show? Like, yeah, like, and plus also, like, this one has been like really hard to get back into, because I know a lot of the episodes to me are honestly just a little bit difficult for me to cover. Like, especially when, like, I think the first time around I ever reviewed this, I just reviewed this as one whole full season. Because, like, yeah, maybe I can just kind of like skate around and just kind of like try to like not have to be so detailed. But with these ones, I'm trying to be a little bit more detailed. So I'm gonna get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody.